Swimming like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it's sink or swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Want to put it all together, this is big things. Doing big things. We ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roadie 2016. Like a phone to die, putting me in charge. I'm a general from the front, I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap never. Going hard as ever.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode here on the Shrimp Tank, powered by Celsius Beverage. If this is your first time tuning in, you catch all these amazing episodes up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com. I'm joined by my co-host, Kevin Cox, who runs the Adams Center for Entrepreneurship here at Florida Atlantic University. Kevin, what is going on at FAU before we kick things off today?
Well, these days, I run the Florida Atlantic Entrepreneurship Institute.
Oh, you do? You changed the name on us. You are right.
Entity, which houses the Center for Entrepreneurship, the Runway Accelerator, the WAVE program, Veterans program, Shrimp Tank podcast. We folded it all under the Entrepreneurship Institute, which we're just starting to build. And we kicked off last week with a fantastic event. I saw you out there. We had our annual business pitch competition, 29 finalists across 4 different tracks, right? Veterans, students, the ocean economy, and of course our venture track with the runway. So it's a fast, fun, paced day, a lot of pitches, a lot of judging. And then I invite everybody to come out and join us on Tuesday, the 14th, where we will celebrate all the innovation happening across FAU's campuses, and we'll announce those winners, because I know everybody wants to know. It was a steep competition, but somebody's got to win.
Yes. Well, why don't you share with our guests first 60 seconds of this show, what we do to each guest and put them on the spot.
Yeah, that's right. We try to teach all our founders and students to give a fantastic elevator pitch, and we like to kick off the show with our guest elevator pitch.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You're up. Introduce yourself to the listeners, the students, and the viewers.
Awesome. Well, nice to meet you guys. My name's Sofia Capp. I operate a digital marketing company right here in Boca Raton. Alongside that, we have some internal brands that we are working on growing and scaling, and we've gotten to work some really great companies. For the digital marketing agency, we work to about 7- and 8-figure brands, and sometimes in the 9s, and we get to kind of mentor these CEOs with their marketing and come in and plug and play. As well as that, I am an FAU alumni.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to be here for that.
Welcome back. We couldn't be more thrilled to have you. One of the youngest guests we've had on the show to date, and an FAU alumni.
How to represent.
Well, we're going to learn a lot more about you, Sophia, as we go into the show. But for now, we start this show off with a silly game show that some of my students came up with. And to do that, we need a special guest competitor to compete alongside us. So we have a student from my class. You want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, tough to follow that last one, but my name is Jake Cuba. I'm in the entrepreneurship class here. I'm a junior, and looking to start my own business in the next 2 or 3 years, and I'm excited to be on the game show today.
All right, well, good luck. I hope you come in second place.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, let's kick things off. Come on up and share with us the rules of this game show.
Yeah, so it's called Guess the Giant. Players get 3 to 5 clues about a major company. And how the scoring works is if you get it correct after the first clue, you get 3 points. If you get it correct after the second one, 2 points. And then like the third and the fifth is 1 point. So
Sophia, Kevin's never won. So
Okay.
it shouldn't be hard.
So,
It shouldn't
yeah.
be hard for you to get first, second, or third.
Good.
So yeah. So the first one, this company did over 500 billion in revenue recently. So you can guess after the first one. Or if you want another hint.
SpaceX.
No. I'll do another one. It's known for its supply chain dominance.
Amazon.
That was a good one.
All right, I got some points. Sweet.
You're off to a good start.
3 on the first attempt.
Well, no, so it'd be 2 because it was the.
I knew scoring was going to be complicated as soon as you said it, man.
2 plus 2 plus 1.
Yeah.
All right, the second one. One of the most valuable companies in the world. That one's kind of tough to get in the first one. I'll do another one. And it was founded in a garage.
Microsoft.
No.
Apple?
Yeah.
All right, you're on the board. Tied with me.
Good thing there's no minus points.
I
I'd be doing bad.
Number 3, started as a DVD mail service.
Netflix.
No.
Yeah.
We gotta see.
I think that's a tie.
No, you can have it.
Don't give it. Don't give
You're
it
not
much.
old enough to know that answer.
I remember it. I remember like going online, like my parents. I was like, I want that movie with that DVD.
Must have been like 6.
Yeah, maybe 4 to be honest. I was,
All right. Number 4. Number 4, massive Gen Z user base, and I'm gonna do it.
TikTok.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that.
That one I got.
All right.
All right. Number 6. Largest athletic apparel company in the world.
Nike.
Let's see. Number 8, founded in 1923 and owns Marvel and Star Wars.
Sony.
No.
Oh. Who's
Disney?
Marvel?
Yeah.
The Steel.
I guess Sony owns Spider-Man.
All right. Number 9. Let's see. This one. Let's see. This one is a Swedish company, and it has over 500 million users.
I'm just gonna guess IKEA.
Users. We do
I
use
decided my
IKEA
guess before
screwdrivers
I heard that part.
and Allen wrenches.
Let's see. It has free and paid tiers, and all the users, pay monthly, with over 500 million from Sweden.
One more clue.
Streaming music platform.
Spotify?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
know Spotify is Swedish.
I didn't even know they were Swedish either.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
All right.
All right, next one. Online marketplace for handmade goods.
Etsy.
Oh,
Yeah.
She came prepared. She watched past episodes. She's like, I know what's going on this game show.
I just study,
Let's see. Next one. Founded in Seattle.
Starbucks.
Yeah. Let's see.
Gotta get like my butt.
All right. Second to last one. Let's see. This one's a Canadian company, and it is very popular with small brands.
There's a lot of companies that do this.
Specifically, like creating small brands, sort of getting them out there.
That's what you do.
I guess Shopify.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, that was a good one.
Well, that was a good guess, Kevin. You're not so bad at this game after all.
I'm coming back fast.
I don't think they're tracking the score.
Yeah,
We'll
I
find out.
don't
We'll
actually
find
know
out.
who's
What
He
is
was
the scoreboard
tracking.
right now? What are we at?
Oh, they know what they're doing.
Kevin is winning. Ooh.
Oh, so this
Okay,
is
here's the
it right
tiebreaker
here.
question.
Here
This
we
is
go,
it.
Kevin.
All right, last one. All right, let me see.
I'm not even going to play. I'll let you two finish it off.
This one's a good one. Okay, this one was founded by MIT engineers, and this is kind of what like started the smart home tech, and it's known for like electric home products, and it cleans your house without you having to.
Roomba.
Yeah, well, it was iRobot. but
iRobot.
Yeah. That's what she won.
All right,
Kevin.
congratulations.
She won 12 to 11.
Oh,
12
so
Oh, barely
11.
gotcha.
I don't know. The last one was a little shady. Roomba.
It's-
All right. Well, you did pretty good. You got points on the board. Thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
All right, back to you. So, how'd you do all this? You're so young. When did you graduate, and when did you start the businesses? Did you start before you graduated? What did you focus on in your studies? Tell us kind of
Yeah.
the beginning.
No, great question. I actually went to FAU High School.
Well,
I
kinda
graduated.
figured that out.
Yeah, a little math there. So I went to FAU High School. I actually went from Henderson to FAU High School. So I'm a legit FAU alum. So it started there. I was about 14, kind of tossed into college. It's kind of, if you guys aren't familiar with the program, you basically go to FAU at 15 years old. So you go right to college, like literally sitting with you guys. So it started there. It was, quite a journey being 15, sitting with 22-year-olds. You kind of learn to grow up a little bit quicker, I would say. Then from there, I started the businesses in college. I was actually 18. So I was just kind of starting to like figure out what I wanted to do. It actually happened because I broke my leg. So yeah, I was a competitive horseback rider. I was at the barn and I got thrown off a horse and broke my femur, which is pretty big injury.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. And from there, I picked up a camera because I really had nothing else to do, right? Like you can't walk, you can't ride. So I picked up this camera and I started taking pictures of these horses jumping, making reels, kind of the whole 9 yards, and posting them on the barn Instagram. I got a little bit of traction there. People were like, oh, this is cool, and I had the clients of the barn come up to me and say like, hey, can you run my Instagram? Like, I like what you're doing. And I was like, oh yeah, like never thought about that. Let's do it. I was going to school for psychology, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah, right here at FAU. I wasn't even a business student. So I started doing that. I was really into it. I, really liked the clients. I was having fun. I was shooting the content, like very like soul business, just me and myself and I, 18 years old. From there, it kind of started to expand because I got the opportunity to be the social media manager for a direct-to-consumer dog treat brand.
Okay.
With, as we know, Tom, who just spoke. So from there, I was...
Real quick, Tom, who just spoke, the audience out there might not know who you're speaking about.
Okay, Thomas Cicernia. Yeah, so Thomas Cicernia, who is a local entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, kind of in Boca Raton. He had this dog treat brand. He basically called me and was like, hey, like, you want to do the social media for it. I was super hungry. Like you couldn't keep me out of that business. I loved it. I'm a big dog person, always have been, had a border collie, was super excited. So I started being the social media for this brand and I was like, I want more. I was like, and I told him, I said, put me in every meeting. I want to be in the marketing meetings, the finance meetings, every meeting. And just would call him like, hey, what meeting are you in? Can I join? Hey, what are we doing next? What's
Back
next?
it up one moment.
Yeah.
How did you even get that opportunity? Tom's a super busy guy, right? I've reached out to Tom a lot. It's just so hard to get on his schedule, right? He has a lot of people knocking on his door all the time to do collaborations with him. So how did you even get to that first step where he was reaching out to you the other way around?
So it was actually because I had a really cute dog. So he said, can I use your dog as a model? And I said,
funny.
yeah, absolutely. I actually have a social media management agency, like, by the way. And he was like, great, you want to help us? And I was like, yeah,
awesome.
he didn't have anybody. So I had met him prior. I actually met him at the barn. So he knew who I was. He knew that I was, very motivated and hungry and wanted an opportunity. So it was a kind of easy way to give an opportunity. But yeah, from there,
But I really like that because that's so important in business. So often, people think it's through a DM on Instagram or LinkedIn as an example, or TikTok. But truthfully, lots of times it's doing something that you enjoy.
It is.
Right. I'm on the pickleball court 2 to 3 times per week. And I can't tell you how many relationships have blossomed because people are who they are at those events, at their hobbies. And when you're around horses, he had a passion for that. And you just get to see the authentic individual on the other end. So I think often people miss out on those hobbies, just realizing all these businesses sometimes grow off the back of those relationships.
Absolutely. Like you definitely get to know someone when you're not in a business setting.
Yeah.
You really get to understand who they are and what they're doing and what they're passionate, like what drives them. It's a big thing. But yeah, from there, it just kind of snowballed. We had that dog treat business and it was super fun. And I ended up kind of running the marketing and running the logistics and everything for it. And I learned a ton, obviously from the best, learned from the best. Very fortunate to have gotten that opportunity. And then from there, other people started reaching out and they were like, hey, like, I see what you've done for this brand. It blew up 4 million, viewers on Instagram, just kind of like a viral thing. And they were like, hey, I see what you've done for this dog treat company. Like, can you help me? And I was like, oh yeah, like, of course. Like I'm a very passion driven person and I have a big passion for building businesses and scaling things and, doing that correctly. Like I love it. I love like the entrepreneurship journey. I love seeing the brands grow. Huge passion of mine. So it's kind of a no-brainer to help these other people. And, we joke the agency is called the Nameless Agency because never had a name. It was just this person would ask and then their best friend would call and say, I see what you've done for him. Can you do it for me? And then it just kind of snowballed like from there. It was a really, really cool kind of thing that happened so organically. And just because we were just trying to grow these brands. Like there was no alternative, motive.
Sure.
We wanted to see them grow, and we built, a team around that, and would just insert the team and the brand would grow and everyone would be like, whoa, how did you do that? And then next brand. And it's been really exciting.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you're utilizing primarily, if not exclusively, social media and social media marketing, social media strategy, tactics, operations to grow these other brands. But in growing your own brand, you've used the old school sort of word of mouth instead of having a huge brand that you have to then manage that social media and promote that all the time. That's interesting that it's those twofold. And then going back to the FAU high school program, that's been a phenomenal program.
Yeah.
Since I've learned about it and familiarized yourself. So that's a great source for the Entrepreneurship Institute. I can't say how many of our finalists for the business pitch competition we had last week are right out of FAU high school.
Yeah.
And coincidentally enough, we have one of those in here, and she's also named Sophia. You want to wave, say hello? Yeah. So we always love to get those students whenever we can.
Yeah,
so,
no, it's a great program, and it really it puts you in the right place at the right time. You really learn a lot about yourself when you're 15 sitting with 22-year-olds and you're like, hey, yeah, I can't even drive yet.
Yeah, well, so were you one of those that was welcome and to share with everybody? Because I noticed there's two different paths on that side. Some of them like to hide it, and I don't find out how young they are until maybe I'm sending them to a statewide pitch competition, and the student says, well, how do I get there? And I'm like, it's in Tampa, man, just drive. And he's like, well, the thing is, I tell you this, but I'm 15. And I'm like, oh, well, not only the car, but the hotel is going to be a problem too.
Yeah.
This is all going to be a problem.
No, yeah.
I would have loved to know that, but they're so impressive commonly that I don't even notice. Everybody looks young to me at this point. So it's like, I can't tell. But so you did hide out a little bit.
I absolutely hid it. I was not advertising the fact that I was, 4 years younger than everyone around me. It was not,
So did you end up graduating with a degree in psychology? What was your experience at Florida Atlantic like?
I loved it. I mean, I think the benefit of Florida Atlantic is that you're in Boca Raton. Like, how does it get better than that? Like the network that you get to create in Boca out of all places, and the people you meet, and, going to the networking events and playing pickleball, like you get to meet so many great other entrepreneurs and just people in general. Like you don't get that in the small town college towns.
Yeah. I went to University of Florida for both my undergrad and master's because, it's one of the top schools academically in the state. But while I had a lot of fun, they were winning national championships in football and basketball at the time. And I emphasize, I learned a lot, I had a lot of fun, but it's a college town.
Yeah.
It is very much not a lot of industry besides, coincidentally, a little bit of the horse industry, just a little way south of Gainesville. But aside from that, there's not kind of a booming tourism industry, a booming health sciences industry, a booming travel and tourism industry. I mean, at that time, there was some because they were winning those national championships, but that was only 5 Saturdays a year. Other than that, there's no tourism, right?
Yeah.
Whereas FAU is really central in a business community, a traditional community. So we're just lucky to have such a fantastic location. Yeah. And we're getting a ton of applications too. I understand that there are 60,000 applications for next year's freshman class. There are 6,000 seats.
Wow.
So FAU is really on the map at this point.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great. Like, I don't think I would have never been able to build and scale the brand the way we were able to if it wasn't for being at FAU in Boca Raton. I mean, especially because I started while I was still in college. I mean, I had the psychology degree. I actually went and graduated that in December of 2024. And from there, just kind of like took off. Like I didn't even have to move.
Yeah. So many students are trying to figure out how not to have to move from the Northeast, from other regions, from other parts of the state, because they get here and they figure, well, there's nowhere else I really want to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It creates a great breeding ground for these businesses.
Yeah.
Sophia, can you dive a little deeper into the business? Lots of times people have success on social media, but it doesn't translate to actual making revenue, money, right? But you have a beautiful website. I went on it this morning. There's a little spinny wheel. I love to gamble. So I'm like, ooh, I'm going to get 10% off or 30% off, right? But that captures data.
Yeah.
Right. And then your website's very clean, and then eventually you have to convert. So can you explain kind of the cycle, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so many pages I witness that have millions of followers, but then I talk to them one-on-one afterwards and like, oh, it looks good online. But truthfully, like I can't get shipments done correctly. I don't have the right suppliers. You also have a product, right?
Yeah.
Like the treat
logistics
itself has to be good that people want to reorder. It's not just marketing. So you wear a lot of different hats along that journey. So kind of explain the social media growth. Where does it go from there? The website, and then kind of explain the entire process, the loop.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything for us is built in flywheels. So we have our acquisition, our retention, and then our advocacy. The acquisition is definitely the part I think most people struggle with the most. You know, it's hard to acquire customers these days on Meta. Everything's more expensive, but when you have a consumable product or any product and you're able to market it correctly from an acquisition standpoint and put it into your flywheel and then retain those customers, like you have to look at it from like a customer acquisition standpoint and how much that costs and then what that customer will turn into. So if your customer acquisition cost is $50 and you're going to just kind of break even on that first purchase, you have to do a really good job of keeping them in your flywheel for retention to then make your profit down the line. The other part of that is advocacy. You know you have a real brand when you have your customers telling other customers. That's when you can make your customer acquisition costs get so much lower without the help of these platforms. So really just making sure you do a good job of making your customer experience the best it can be. They purchase and they stay loyal to your brand, and in your brand is the best way that you can operate the business.
And just give us like the hardest thing, running the brand, right? You know, one could say the marketing side, just always coming up with new ideas. One will say hiring, right? Just good old like trying to find good talent when all these orders are coming in to just process the other parts of the business. What is the hardest thing running this business?
I think the hardest thing running this business is just making sure you're able to effectively navigate each aspect. So like for a lot of people, it just depends on who you are, you know, like could be finance, could be marketing, but making sure that every aspect you're not falling short in that area, because it's all relative, right? Like if you have a great marketing program, but your finances are a mess, that's where you're going to fall apart. You know, it's about being a well-rounded kind of CEO in person and making sure that you're not dropping the ball on certain parts that to you may not seem important. You know, you might do a killer job marketing, but if your logistics and your manufacturing is not on point, you know,
which you've had to learn a lot
exactly.
the last couple of years. Like a lot of times people, you know, see it's so glorious on social media. Like, look at me, I'm 22 and I'm doing all these things, but all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, like there's a lot of pressure on you.
A lot of pressure.
Right?
And
like
it's,
the orders have to be fulfilled, you know, Google reviews start populating, and it could be stressful, of course.
Yeah. And wearing all those different hats, I would say, is like the hardest part of running the business. Like making sure that you're not just so hyper focused on making one part work. You know, again, going back to the flywheel, like you may be so hyper fixated on acquisition, which I see a lot in a lot of these brands that we work with. They're just like, I want to put on more customers. And it's like, well, if you don't do a good job at retention, you're just putting on more customers for them to fall off in your retention. You're not growing, right? You have to do a really good job keeping those customers that you have so that the business compounds over time.
Yeah. Like, yeah, absolutely. And I find it to be a little bit rare, someone like you that really gets deep into all of those different parts of the business.
Yeah.
Because I do have a ton of experience with founders that are really drawn to one aspect of the business, right? I deal with a lot of technical founders and they're preoccupied on the technical. So another alternative solution, but you should still be familiar with the entire business as a whole, is building out the right team, right? And I'm sure there's other people you work with that you can delegate some things to and they can oversee as long as you know what's going on. And that's where we see sometimes that's a great solution. And,
absolutely.
And sometimes there are founders that should remain on the technical side and squarely focus there, not be customer facing, not be social media, not be marketing. We need to find someone who can do that and spearhead that, but they are a little bit more specialized. It sounds like you're really kind of doing it all. And I'm glad you mentioned customer acquisition costs specifically. So everybody in this class is working on their own business, either as part of the class or something that they intend to launch, or some have basically launched.
Awesome.
And next week they're doing their presentations on all the financials, and that is one of those key metrics. Customer acquisition costs and lifetime value, and it's tricky. So you give a great explanation of it. it's hard to sell things on the internet. Telling the class, I found a research report like a year ago. The average customer acquisition cost to sell a mattress on the internet, it's like $400.
Yeah, I mean, it's
and
internet
you only
advertising.
buy one of those
yeah.
every 7 years.
Yeah.
So that explains, I live in Boynton Beach, why there's a mattress store still on every single corner.
Yeah,
right. It's like, that's not going to work. If I spend $400 every time to sell one mattress, and then maybe they come back in 7 years, or maybe they just search new mattress again and start over.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why it's so important when you guys are building your businesses to think about that. Don't just think about like, how do I acquire a customer, but think about what value are you giving to your customer that's going to make them loyal to your brand and come back, because that's really where you're going to see the compounded growth. I mean, we're very good at getting customers, we're very good at getting a low customer acquisition cost, but to create, an 8-figure, 9-figure brand, you have to have the whole part of the flywheel. You have to have the retention and the advocacy. I mean, the advocacy is huge to lower your customer acquisition costs.
Yeah. So that's what I mean, essentially organic. Right?
So can we talk about like real programs? Like a lot of people use like Go High Level as an example, a back end to a website that actually will send text messages with different discounts or emails, a newsletter. So how do you really support the whole system? Kind of explain if it's a general product, you could, software, I'm saying you could reference it, because there's so many third-party softwares out there. Because I think it's important to all the students that are sitting in and everyone listening online, just like how the business app actually operates behind the scenes. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great question. For acquisition, I mean, we use a lot of like Meta, Facebook, Google, Instagram, that kind of thing. But we work with a lot of service businesses as well. And those strategies are a little bit different. I mean, you can use the Googles and the Metas of the world, but you can get pretty aggressive in the way that you market those companies, from direct mail to, just LinkedIn even, like starting to kind of strategically build your funnel so you're not completely reliant on those platforms. For retention, I'm a huge Klaviyo fan. Okay. I love Klaviyo. Okay. And what does the service do? Explain it generally. Yeah. So Klaviyo basically is like an email SMS automation system. So you can set up all of your flows and all of your automations to essentially send to your customers as soon as they purchase or abandon their cart, or, even come into your company. So it's a great program to kind of like cement your retention and kind of not have to worry about it anymore, and then focus on your acquisition. Because I mean, like you said, there's a lot of hats to be worn, any program that can kind of really make it easy for you to hold your spot there and not have to put 110% of effort into it is a win.
Jason, we better take some questions from the class. We get you out of here soon. Okay. If anyone has a question, come on up, grab a Celsius on your way down to your seat. Okay. We have one joining. Justice is always good for a question or two.
How you doing? I'm Justice. Mike, I heard you mention earlier before we started the show that you, besides the dog treat brand and the marketing agency, you had another business. What was the other business?
So we have the agency, the dog treat brands. We have a couple of like businesses that we work with, like service businesses and SaaS platforms as well. So the SaaS platforms are focused a little bit more heavily on helping people market their businesses for people who can't afford, social media managers or marketing. And then
another question. So I run a service business. I run a power washing business. Yeah. I'm working on Meta right now. I'm working with a separate ad agency. But what's your recommendation for like a service-based business that's kind of like, because I mean, power washing is not really a necessity. It's kind of what do you think the best platform would be to?
That's a great question. I'm a little untraditional there. I would say that you should go direct mail and door to door. I think that when you have the opportunity to be where your customers are, it's huge, and you should capitalize on that. I think Meta and Facebook are good. They're great for branding. You'll get a couple leads, but being able to go to the house that you want to pressure wash is a luxury that we do not get in e-commerce.
I was really hoping you wouldn't say that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course.
It's the hard way.
Yeah.
Right. No one wants to go that hard direction.
I was wondering if SA is all online.
Yeah, it is totally e-commerce. Yeah.
What do you think the benefits of that are versus kind of a storefront, or kind of both, I guess?
I think the benefits to online is that you can price more competitively. So, you're direct to your consumer, which is huge. And also you get to build your brand the way that you want. So you get to control the messaging, you get to control the customer experience. You get to really make people loyal to that brand, which is part of that flywheel of coming back. So I think, anytime you're direct to consumer and you get to kind of control that messaging and the experience that they feel when they get your product is huge to building a brand.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, how's it going? I had a question more towards the SaaS companies. My question was on figuring out pricing, like how do those companies figure out the pricing, and also company structure. SaaS, they have the coding, but they also have the sales and stuff like that. So I want to understand what the structure looks like for some of those.
Yeah, that's a great question. In terms of pricing, I like to just kind of go backwards and look at my customer acquisition costs. So what does it take to acquire a customer, and what do I need to price my product at that makes sense to break even or even make a little bit of a profit on that first purchase? Anytime you do with a SaaS platform, the beautiful part is that it's most of the time subscription based. So you can kind of price aggressively on that first purchase, get your customer in the door, and then make your profit through your lifetime value. For the operation sides of a SaaS platform, I'm a big proponent of learning to do it yourself. And I think that any, CEO or founder, it's really big to know how to operate your own company. So that way, when you bring people in, you know how to teach them. I think you can do a lot of it yourself. I mean, web developers are great, but with AI and kind of the new systems in place, a lot of it is pretty self-explanatory, especially if you're in college and you have the time. I mean, figure out how to code it, figure out how to market it. Like, it will do you so much more in the long run to do it that way than kind of hiring and outsourcing.
Good.
I'll add a little bit more in terms of specifics because I have a good feel for what investors are looking for. So there's a couple other numbers that you may not know yet that are going to come into play. But what's important is, as Sophia mentioned, like, you can spend a lot.
Yeah.
You don't want to, but you can spend a lot on your customer acquisition because it's an ongoing purchase. It's one of those recurring purchases, again, and you can price pretty aggressively. Where you want to be is 3 to 5 times. Your lifetime value needs to be at least 3 to 5 times, maybe even a lot more, but at a minimum, 3 to 5 times your lifetime customer value.
Yeah.
And what's going to influence that is your churn rate. Your churn rate is those people who unsubscribe in any given period of time. But once you have all that data, it should be really pretty straightforward. And what's great about those metrics is, unless you really mess something up or there's a new entry into the market that is mind-blowing and has great marketing, those numbers are going to be really consistent.
Yeah.
So you can bet on them, and you can bet big. You can take investment to scale as needed, because it's like, well, it doesn't matter if my ad spends 5,000 or 50,000. Numbers are going to be relatively the same. And if the numbers work, which we'll find out from all of you next Friday, you can turn up the volume.
Yeah, that's a great point. Kind of like having your lifetime value be coexistent with your pricing is huge.
Gotcha. So you wouldn't price it on the value that's derived from the product. Because I was looking more towards, say, it generates X value, and by purchasing the software, you'll see a 5X return on investment. Like, that's kind of how I was looking in terms of
I think that's a great way to market and sell it, for sure. If you can prove quantifiably that, hey, you spend this, then your customer acquisition is going to go way down. The speed at which you make acquisitions is going to go way up. It's very easy to sell something, particularly if it's B2B, which it sounds like, I'm guessing, to a business owner. If you say, you give me $10 and here's how you end up with $30 to $50, you telling me how to make money. I want 50 of the $10 things then, because it's a profit.
Yeah, I think the only thing to keep in mind is when you are doing it based on that, value is relative to the individual. So, like, what might be $50 for me, $50 to you, like, everybody's time is worth something different. So it's a little hard to do it that way, but it's definitely something to keep in mind when you're pricing.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And be careful on the fluffy pitch of we can make you 5 times more. I hear that as a founder every single week in my inbox on LinkedIn. So you better come with data and more details on how to get there.
All right, show's over, Jason. No more sneaking in those questions.
No, we got one more. Thomas, come on up here. Come on. He's got one final question for Sophia. We can't let him get out of the shrimp tank without asking a question.
Sophia, what would you tell the guests coming out of college how they should start off?
That's a great question. Thank you, Thomas. I would say find something that you love and put your passion behind it, and treat every opportunity like you're getting the opportunity to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. An opportunity is only as much as you make it. So if you get the opportunity, you can do 2 options. You can clock in, clock out, and every day you can go do exactly what you're entitled to do, or you can go above and beyond. And when you go above and beyond, you will create more opportunities for yourself. So don't be afraid to be the last one in the office. Don't be afraid to ask all the questions. Make the opportunity more value than what it was when it was given to you.
And last thing, just to put you on the spot, how has Thomas changed your life when it comes to just business and just in general, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, tremendously. I mean, everything I know is from that guy. I mean, anything I say is just a derivative. He not only has supported me business, but he's just always, you know, it's so important to have someone who truly believes in you. And Absolutely. I think he does a great job in doing that and backing you up and knowing that if the potential's there, you're going to figure it out. Because, you know, when you are young, you make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think having someone who always believes in you and always, you know, pushes you forward has just been everything.
Awesome. Well, Sophia, thanks for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank. Everybody listening, we'll be back next Wednesday at 1:00. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.